at 7.
All right, guys, welcome. Thank you all for coming tonight. I want to welcome you to the regular scheduled city council meeting for Thursday, August 25th. If you guys would like to stand with me, we have Pastor Joel Otwell that was going to do the invocation.
Our Father, we just take a moment to bow in your presence to acknowledge you, and it right sizes us. And so that we just give you thanks and praise for all of your good gifts in our lives. And Father, we would take a moment again tonight, as we so often have, to thank you for those who are in positions of leadership and authority. And we ask, God, that you would give them wisdom and strength of character and integrity. And Father, as our community grows in number, and as the dollar signs grow, as the complexity grows, we need more wisdom and more integrity than perhaps ever before. So we just ask that you would grant that, and you'd help us to lean into you. Bless this community, its citizenry, and Father, we are just thankful for all of your hand of blessing in our lives. Bless this meeting tonight. Give direction and unity and help. We pray in Jesus' name.
Amen. Please remain standing for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With that, Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Mrs. Roth?
Here?
Mr. Peel?
Here.
Mr. Young?
Here.
Mrs. North?
Here.
Mr. Van Houten?
Here.
Mayor, we do have a quorum present.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to approval of the agenda, and with that, I entertain a motion to approve the agenda, unless there are any requested changes.
I mean, I don't know how much time we're going to have today, but I was thinking maybe we had a discussion item about 199th and the truck traffic.
Okay.
Is there any information that we need to gather prior to that?
Is there what?
Is there
I just want to talk about it and see what everybody's thought process is on it,
Okay.
and see if it's something that we want to talk more about.
Sure.
That's why it's just discussion, nothing.
Sure.
crazy.
Would we add that as item 11, if we're gonna add it as a discussion item?
So we're gonna do that tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah, I figure, I don't think it's going to take a ton of time, but just to touch
11.
base on it.
Okay.
Just making sure.
All right, we'll add that 199th as a discussion item, and that'll be item number 11. With that, are there any other requested changes? If not, I entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended, adding the 199th discussion item.
So moved?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0-0. Next, we'll move on to a presentation, and it's on the 2021 financial audit. Gordon CPA, Carson Morrow, and Sean Gordon.
They are joining us.
Barely.
Working on it.
John Gordon. Carson couldn't be here tonight, but I'm the principal auditor for Gordon CPA, and we performed the 2021 audit of the city. So I'll go through that audit report that you've seen in your agenda packet, just kind of explain section by section what you're looking at. And then if you have any questions along the way, feel free to stop me. So we'll start with pages 1 and 2. This is called the Independent Auditor's Report. And this section is a little bit different than what some of you have seen over the past few years. There was a reorganization that was required by the auditing standards that we follow and that the city follows. And so the opinion paragraph was moved from the bottom in previous years more towards the top in the current year. And so the second paragraph down in this section starts with information that we issued an unmodified opinion on the city's financial statements for 2021. Now, this means that this is the highest and cleanest opinion that we could issue the city for its audited financial statements for this time period. So it reflects very well on the financial management and the internal control management by the city staff involved in finances for the year. So A+, pat on the back for everybody involved in this process. Further on down in this section, we talk about management and the council's responsibilities for the city's financial statements. And then we discuss our responsibilities for the financial statements. The next section forward is called Management's Discussion and Analysis, and this starts on page 3 and runs through page 8. And this section provides a narrative explanation of the city's 2021 financial activity through the eyes of management of the city. In this section, there's financial analysis, budgeting highlights, fixed asset information, and debt administration during the 12/31/21 calendar year. The next section forward is pages 9 through 10, and these are the basic financial statements of the city. And so on page 9, you'll see what's commonly referred to as the balance sheet, and then page 10, you'll see what's commonly referred to as the income statement. The balance sheet contains all of the assets and liabilities of the city as of the year end, and then the income statement contains revenues and expenses that have accumulated throughout the year. Towards the bottom of page 10 in the right-hand column there, you'll see that the city's bottom line increased by almost $6.2 million during the year. So again, reflects very well on revenue management and expense management of the city during that time period. The next section is pages 11 through 23, and these are just more detailed breakouts of the information presented on pages pages 9 and 10. These are called the city's major funds. So you'll see the general fund, special highway fund, the debt service fund, many other funds that are presented there as well. These are funds that have a little bit more activity, might have more cash on hand at year end. And so they're presented a little bit separately than the funds that don't have as much activity running through them during the year. The next section forward starts on page 24 and runs through page 49, and these are called the notes to the financial statements. And here is quite a bit of information that's discussed, including information on the city's accounting policies that it follows throughout the year, information on capital asset items of the city, long-term debt information, involvement in the Capers retirement program. Like I said, many items discussed in this area. This section did not have any changes that were required by the auditing standards that the city follows. So that's typically what you've seen over the past few years. And then the final section of the audited financial statement starts on page 50 and runs through page 57. And these are just more detailed breakouts of the smaller funds of the city that have a little bit less activity running through them. We did want to communicate to the mayor and the council that we did not have any auditor's recommendations for this year. So again, that just reflects very well on the financial management and internal control management by everybody involved in the audit process. And when we had done the audit, that was Lou Ann and some other people involved in the audit. And so we just appreciate her and her team's hard work that they did a good job of getting us everything that we had requested for the audit. And then, we've had a few conversations with Rhonda there, and so we look forward to working with her on the upcoming audit next year. So that's kind of all I had to communicate to all of you. If you have any questions on that, please let me know.
Thank you, sir. You guys have any questions while he's online there? All right.
No questions.
All right. Great. Good job, team. All right. Next, we'll move on to the citizen participation period. And once again, just want to remind you that we do have a 5-minute limit, especially since there might be quite a few people that want to speak. And if you could just step up to the microphone and give your name and your address, yeah, that would be great.
This isn't the budget hearing though, right?
No, this is not the public hearing.
So this would be the time for non-budget
Yes.
discussion items, right?
Yes, so the first person we have on the list is Mr. Bill Peterman. Yes.
Thank
this is
you.
Not the public hearing.
Bill Peterman, 19431 West 200th Street. We're getting it done, I heard from one council person last meeting. From another council person a while back, I heard if a man owns land, he ought to be able to do with it what he wants. That same council person went door to door in her subdivision to ban the developer from building beside her. Her and her husband greeted neighbors inside the council chambers to oppose the developer. When it came time to discuss and vote, she did not excuse herself because of conflict of interest. I don't think this is getting it done right. 4 meetings ago, a citizen from Spring Hill put up on the monitor in black and white the charter ordinances, which are a local law of the city, which he indicated were not being followed. He did not get an answer or even an acknowledgement. The citizens are asking questions, but are not being given any answers. I don't think we are getting this done right either. I leave you with a little bit of Aristotle. We are what we repeatedly do. Therefore, excellence is not an act, but a habit. I feel we need to create better habits in this city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Mr. Frank Moley.
Frank Moley, 22755 West 199th. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council. I will keep this brief because I do know that you guys have a lot on the agenda tonight. I encourage you all to actively start paying attention to what's going on with the 199th. Today, the Public Works for the county made an astonishing statement that this was now a Type 3 road, which makes it the same traffic capacity as 135th Street. Think about that. You have a high school, roundabout, infrastructure, residents, and they want to make it the same traffic pattern so that they can get trucks from the intermodal all the way over to I-49 in Missouri. So, you know, we need to be real clear. This has nothing to do with local traffic. Obviously, JB Hunt is a great partner for this city. We're not going to do anything, you know, we don't want them to stop bringing trucks in. We don't want Mid-Am to bring trucks in. We definitely don't want the farmers to feel like they can't transport their grain. You know, I'm a farm kid. I grew up around here, for those of you that don't know me. So I'm just asking you to consider the finances of this city, but more importantly, the safety of the residents. You know, I can't even imagine if my kids went to Spring Hill, what it would be like at 3:15 in the afternoon with them leaving the high school and trucks coming by every 10, 15 seconds. Obviously, any decision that you make is your decision, and it is within your right. Mr. Eilert was fortunate enough today to remind us that the cities do have the right, so you and Gardner and Stillwell, to stop this, because the county apparently isn't going to. You know, we've got commissioners openly lying. Today, one of them told the council that they sat on my property for 2 hours. If you come to my property, I'm gonna know you're there, I promise you that. No one came to my property. So, you know, I would encourage you to consider safety, but you have to consider your finances too. Anything that you do is going to ultimately impact the police department. I would rather have an officer making sure trucks aren't on the road than cleaning up debris from an accident, especially an accident involving one of our youth. I would like to make myself available to each and every one of you. If you'd like to discuss this, I know I've spoken with a couple of you. If you'd like to discuss this, I am more than happy to help be part of the solution. But that being said, I'm going to let you all go because I do know you've got a lot of budget stuff to talk about with the taxes. It was interesting today, Mr. Eilert reminded us that the state doesn't have to do what you all have to do with these taxing districts. So I do empathize with your position, but thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thanks. Next, we have Mr. Steve Boswell.
Hi, Steve Boswell, 504 North Jackson. On his last comment about the highways, I had a question real quick, and I'm sure a lot of other citizens do have the same question. Are they going to build an overpass at 199th and 169 highway for the for the rigs, if they do all of this construction to make it, like a large roadway to I-44. Question, that's a question.
I typically don't answer them when we're asking at this point, but I will go ahead and say, we have not been given any plans or any details, so I
Okay, so,
honestly have no idea.
all right, well, that would be definitely something I
Say
would
that's
look
something
at,
probably
as
ask
that's,
the county would probably be your best bet to try to.
well, it's kind of on us, cause it's within our city area, so, I mean, that's why I would say that.
Right,
you
but
know,
I'm talking about as far as for the plans.
Okay.
When they get to.
Yeah, I wouldn't, you have a foot ahead of them right now, so you can actually take out the most dangerous intersection in Johnson County by, demanding an overpass there too. And then maybe we can work on some safety features along that roadway. Other than that, I came to talk about water. So, my father contacted the, let's see here. I gotta look up his name real quick. Sorry.
I thought you were looking for your father's name.
Wayne Massey. Okay, Wayne Massey apparently works for the city of Spring Hill. My father discussed with him about our situation and the dire need to have our water line moved from where the city allowed somebody to build a house on top of it. It's a private water line. It's after the meter. And we get that it's our responsibility to take care of that issue of having a water line underneath somebody's house. However, the city is not interested in bringing us water onto our property, so the city can then put a meter on our property so that we can properly put a line from there into our house. And that's very frustrating. And with that being said, I don't understand why I would be considered incorporated in Spring Hill at that current time if the city is not willing to do what the city said they were going to do. And there's a lot of folks in the old part of town that have the same issue. Their water lines are running certain directions, and their meters aren't even near their property. So that's actually like pretty much illegal. You got to bring it to their property, and the city's not interested in doing that. So my question, or what I'm saying is, my statement is that since the city is not willing to do that, would they be willing to annex me so that I can go ahead and, set up target practice, shoot guns, all that other stuff that everybody that's not in the city limits that don't have those rights to have the water and stuff like that brought to their property? You gonna annex me out so I can do all that? Or are you gonna bring the water to my property? And then in this case, since I'm bringing attention to it, now the city's looking at more properties that they're going to have to legally bring water to. And my father is not very happy, neither am I. He is actually the registered owner of our house. He is not very happy, and neither am I. And we have gone back to get the records for the building permits that were issued by the city of Spring Hill. And we're also getting the planning for that whole area so we can find out how many people's water is not where it should be, so that we can notify them as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This time, that's the end of that list that we have. Is there anyone else that would like to step up and say anything at this time? If not, we'll go ahead and close the citizen participation period and we'll move on to the public hearing. This first portion is for the revenue neutral rate hearing, and it's for the fire district. So at this point, I'll open up the public hearing and then open it up for public comments. We did not have anybody on the fire district sign up to speak. Is there anyone from the fire district that would like to speak on this topic? If not, I entertain a motion to approve resolution. And that's resolution number 2022-R18 to levy a property tax exceeding the revenue neutral rate.
I move to approve resolution number 2022-R-18, authorizing the city of Spring Hill, Kansas to levy a property tax rate for fire exceeding the revenue neutral rate.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0-0. At this point, we'll close that portion of the public hearing. We'll move on to the revenue neutral rate hearing for the non-fire district. And at this point, we'll open up the public comments and the public hearing. And the first person on that list is Mr. Rodolfo Aravalo.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you this evening and to discuss the proposed budget increases that will exceed the revenue neutral rate. I would like for you to know that your budget and mill levy increases would increase my property taxes by approximately 22.4%, resulting in a $200+ increase in my tax bill. For this reason, I am here to request that you not approve your recommended mill levy increase over the revenue neutral rate. My review of the budget developed by your finance director indicates there are a number of budget reductions that could be made without affecting the overall operation of the city. It would still allow you to address the greater interests of the council. I would like to provide you with some issues presented at the work session last week and ask you to consider whether your expense noted are in fact additions to the budget, and if they are not, then this would result in further reductions to the necessary budgetary needs of the city. The list of employee-related expenses that were noted included 3 positions that were listed as frozen during the 2022 budget. Normally, frozen positions mean that the funding is provided to the department, but they are not allowed to fill the position. Therefore, when the new budget is developed, the positions are still there and the funding for those positions are available to that department. Therefore, there is no need to add them to the budget as if they were new positions, which is indicated in the information you received last week. I do not know what the salary levels are of these positions, but I assume it would be in the realm of $200,000 to $250,000. This would be a reduction of your mill levy of approximately 1.5 mils if you were to exclude them. In addition to this correction, I also found some other savings that could be addressed and reduce the budget by at least $307,000. These reductions were taken further reductions to the mill levy would reduce it again by an additional 2.2 mils. As an example, one of these items, I would ask you to review page 7 of your budget sheet summary. At the bottom of that page, under the title Debt Service and Transfer, you have listed $1 million for a reserve which you want to create, which is great. But in addition to that, you have another item called Reserve for the Future, and it's budgeted at $244,646. If you use that money instead of creating a reserve, you would have a $244,000 savings. Throughout this budget summary, you can find any number of budget lines that do not require the level of allocation again. As an example, the finance department under professional services is allocated $5,067. And for the past 3 years, you have allocated an average of $5,000 for this item. Yet the department never used more than $2,700 for the past year, for that 1 year, which was 3 years ago. And in the last 2 years, it has never used more than $300. So why budget 5,000? Again, a savings. For these budgets, you could easily find thousands. If you review the whole budget summary, you could find easily thousands of dollars in which you could reduce the budget by. It is clear that the city uses an incremental budget process that simply adds on to the budgets that exist, and there is no consistent examination line by line of the expenses of departments. I believe it is time for you as a new council to change the budget development process and save the taxpayer money. If these items are correct that I mentioned, you would be able to reduce the mill levy that you're proposing by 3.2 mills. And incidentally, I would also indicate to you that the revenue neutral mill levy is incorrect in the budget material that you were provided. According to Johnson County, the net revenue neutral is 19.196, not 23. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Roy Riffle. And just to remind everybody, when the timer, there's a beep when you have a minute left, and then the last louder beep at the end of the time.
Thank you. Always hard to follow up after Rodolfo there, but for me, I just wanted to share that this year I was a little frustrated that we didn't get to see a proposed budget like we did last year, and I feel like we're putting the cart before the horse, talking about a mill levy without knowing what is the city's need and desire. I understand you guys had a budget meeting or budget work session, but as far as I know, I just looked again after Rodolfo was mentioning some of those numbers, that there was nothing published on the website like there was last year of a revenue neutral, and in one column where it was the proposed rate. And so as a citizen, of course, I don't want my taxes raised. I don't think anybody really does. But at the same time, I think we could all agree that we want a fully funded city as well. We want our needs met and hopefully throw in a couple of wants as well. And for me, it's hard to argue whether 36 is right or the 19 is right, and when I don't know what the necessary of the city's needs is. But what I do want to share is remind you all that in Johnson County we have the highest mill levy out of any city in Johnson County, and in Miami County we're well up in the upper half. Today I spent some time looking at our debt service fund, and I was amazed to find that there was not one city our size who were at or greater than our debt service. Matter of fact, almost all of them were half of our debt service. And then when you look at surrounding cities, our per capita debt, we are greatly higher than anybody else. And so it shows that we like to borrow money. And I was very disappointed when I heard in the CIP meeting earlier that we talked about some of these wants and we could just bond them out. We're at currently $30 million in debt, 36 or 34 if you include some of these benefit districts and stuff like that. And so I guess what I ask from you guys is that a lot of you have shared your faith in God, and I remind you all that our money is not our own, but what God gave us to manage. And so you have two swords there. You have money that God has given you to manage, and it's not yours, it's ours. We've given it to you to manage. And so I ask that you guys manage it appropriately, pick the right rate that gives us a fully funded city, and stop borrowing all this money and stop the lease purchases, which I think they stopped last year. But anyways, that was all my comments on it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Mr. Todd Fitzpatrick.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Todd Fitzpatrick. According to the city's own business guide, which is part of your own marketing materials, the city's assessed valuation has increased 500% in the last 20 years. The 2021 audited financials reflect a fantastic financial result and a growing net position. Savvy elected officials in other metro areas have utilized a lowering of the mill levy and a reliance upon increased year-over-year assessments. Spring Hill should follow this successful model. It's worth noting that the citizenry of Spring Hill is increasingly unsatisfied with its own ROI. Annual tax increases year over year are not as easily digested without results and spending in the areas we care about. 2021 is no exception. The city continues to grow, primarily adding new residential subdivisions. The new growth, combined with historical growth, increases the city's real and contingent liabilities and obligations to its citizens, specifically in areas of public works, streets, and infrastructure. Historical and annual budgets reflect a lack of focus on maintenance and preventative maintenance. However many lane miles there are in this jurisdiction, I think it's unimaginable that an approximately $100,000 maintenance budget is adequate. It is disappointing that the city would rather wait until an issue becomes an emergency to address it, and then it borrows money to solve it. Debt service then becomes a need for a justifiable increase to the mill levy to support it. This guilts the community into supporting the city to pay its loans. I'd suggest $1 of maintenance results in a better ROI for this community than $1 of bond debt. The council should adopt a less than neutral mill levy position for the upcoming budget year. You may say, how are we supposed to spend more and tax less? I say you're not even spending money you have in the correct areas, and the increase in assessments will still give you even more money. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. At this time, that's all we have on the list. Is there anyone else that would like to step up and speak on the non-fire district? Mrs. Dunn, did you have anything you wanted to add on that to answer any of the questions or comments anyone said there?
No, I hadn't planned on, I'd be happy to define, revenue neutral if the council would like me to.
Sure.
Otherwise, we can leave it to the public.
Yeah, I'd say go ahead in case someone's not aware what that means and understands the process.
Do that. It's upside down. Folder.
First.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Tech Department. I was asked earlier today how you would define or explain revenue neutral to somebody, and so I went out and could talk away about what I think that means, but I went out and got a pretty good definition, pretty simple and straightforward, I thought. That revenue neutral is what a taxing jurisdiction like the city budgets the exact same amount of property tax revenue in dollars for the upcoming budget year as they did for the current year. So it's that you collect the same amount of dollars. It's not mill levy, it's not assessed value, it's that you will collect the same amount of dollars. An example, if a taxing entity uses $1 million of property tax revenue in 2022, being revenue neutral means they plan to only use $1 million in 2023 as well. Okay, so that's the definition that we operate under.
All right, at this point, with no one else on the list, we'll consider resolution number 2022-R-19 to levy a property tax exceeding the revenue neutral rate. And I entertain a motion.
I move to approve the resolution number 2022-R-19 authorizing the city of Spring Hill, Kansas to levy a property tax rate non-fire exceeding the revenue neutral rate.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0-0. At this point, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion. Next, we'll move on to the consent agenda. And this, once again, is just items, just the regular consent items. And I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0-0. Once again, those are just regular routine items that the staff has already looked over and discussed, and nothing crazy there. Next, we'll move on to formal council action, and the first item on the list is consider approval of appropriation order number 2022-8-25. And Mrs. Dunn, this is you, but I don't believe we have a presentation. This is just regular routine city business, and unless any of you council members have any questions on that appropriation order, this is pretty straightforward, something that we have every month. If not, I entertain a motion.
Is this one roll call?
Oh, sorry, this is a roll call. Entertain a motion for the roll call.
I move to approve appropriations order number 2022-08-25.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, although, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Peel?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Mrs. North?
Yes.
Mr. Van Houten?
Yes.
Mrs. Roth?
Yes, with the exception that I abstain from any invoices pertaining to J&T Auto Service.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0-0. With
Thank you.
the exception stated by Mrs. Roth.
Next item on the agenda is consider approval of ordinance number 2022-28, and that's rezoning PZD-000036-2022, and that's 215th Street and Columbia Road, RR to RP1. And Mr. Burton, you have the floor.
Thank you and good evening. So tonight we're looking at the formal action item of an ordinance for PZD 36-2022. It's a request about the locations 215th and Columbia, or it's west of 169 on 215th on the Johnson County side, which 215th is County Line Road. So this would be the north side of it. It's approximately.
South side, right?
No, it's the north side.
It's the north.
Northwest.
North.
South side's Miami.
Northwest side.
Yeah, it's the northwest side, but it's the north side of 215th.
Of 215th, yeah.
Columbia's
Yeah.
with the marker.
Yeah, so it's on the Johnson County side. If it was on the south, it'd be Miami County side. That's why I brought that up. So it's 77 acres, 76.9 acres that is currently zoned RR, rural residential. There is, all the utilities are there except for the sewer, and the sewer will have to be run about 3,000 foot plus or minus from the south. It would feed into, the sewer line would feed into the south district that we have very little flow on, and several years now the city has been trying to get development to flow into that, to utilize that sewer area there. This rezoning is for an RP1, which is a planned single-family district. Then there will be preliminary plats and final plats coming soon. The Planning Commission at their August 4th meeting held a public hearing. Staff presented it and it did pass. It was a 6-0 vote. The two of the, just for information, the two votes of the Planning Commission members mostly were concerned about traffic on 169, crossing it, and then there was some concern about children crossing 169 or something of that nature. So there was a 14-day protest period that has passed. the city and the city staff have not received any formal complaint or formal protests on this. Alternatives are to approve it, override it, remand it back to the city or to the planning commission, deny or continuance. The city attorney has reviewed the attached rezoning ordinance draft, or rezoning ordinance, it's not a draft any longer. And planning commission and staff recommends approval. Entertain any questions?
It's RP1 for the whole thing, right?
That's correct.
Don't we normally get some sort of preliminary plat to go with the zoning, or is that something
No,
we can't request?
It'll be the next step
Next step.
there.
Okay.
So, and we can take a look at lot sizes and all that everyone seems to worry about
It's
there.
in the planning commission agenda.
And once again, it's
I was gonna say, I thought I saw one.
It's in their agenda.
There is if you look in the staff report, there's a preliminary type.
Yeah, that's what I thought I
draft.
saw one, but I don't see it in here.
Yeah, cause it was just a draft drawing. This is strictly for the rezoning.
And with the planned district, once again, you have a little bit more control over that.
Oh, you have a lot of control,
Yeah.
yes. I believe also what they're mostly looking at, the no smaller than 50 foot, but they're more concerned about the 5 foot side yard setback.
Okay.
And this is a local builder developer. They do a lot of construction work and all in our community.
Slightly off topic, but what are we starting to see more interest in development on the west side of 169?
But we're starting to, which we've been pushing it for a few years. And really, some of these items that we look at now have actually been in the works for a year, sometimes 2 years. So we've been pushing that to try and get the flow to, and not quote unquote waste that sewer district.
And that's
It's
what I was just
sitting
gonna
there.
say, is
Yes.
this one will spur on other development, because we'll develop that sewer out there to where other people that
Yes.
wanna develop will be able to connect onto it.
Right, and to give you a little bit more insight, on the Miami County side, just across the street and then actually against 169, there is a final platted subdivision there. And we have interest in the commercial part of it. And I would imagine what is gonna happen here is the sewer line will be run down through there and connect to the district. And that will spur that subdivision to go. It is served by Water District 7, and so they have plenty of water there as well. And this should help the golf course. I mean, it's right there. I think that it would help a lot on the west side of, and especially, you know, we continue to try and get more development in Miami County as well. And this would be a good start.
Help spur it on that side.
Yes.
It looks like this is filling in some of the holes that,
It is, and the other
maybe
thing
not
is,
necessarily a border, but again, like sewer
Right.
connections.
exactly, the
That's
sewer
been some of the
connection's
holdup even on
important,
Miami
right.
County side is the sewer.
Yes, the sewer connection is gonna be really important. You know, that 3,000 foot of sewer or 3,300 foot of sewer, most likely will eventually, I would say in the next 5 years, spur on another $100 million worth of development. Assessed valuation, not. We'll try and get as much as we can, but no.
Should have been.
And they've worked really well with us, and there's been a few challenges on the sewer. It's, you know, and this also is one where one of the challenges is just tell you straight up front, it would have been a lot easier to put in a sewer lift station, pump it across the highway back to this side, instead of running the 3,000 foot to the south or 3,300 foot, because there is a ridge that we'll have to go through, and it could make the sewer 25 foot deep. But I'm a firm believer the least amount of lift stations we have, and you can spend $700,000 on a lift station, or you can spend $700,000 blasting through rock and never touch it again. And a lift station is constant maintenance
And probably service a
and
lot more development and long
Exactly. Oh, yeah, no, it's definitely gonna do that.
Open up other doors too.
Mhm.
But you know, with the track record that we've had on some of these lift stations that sat around for a while and didn't have enough flow and all that with the problems in some areas. So we're trying to eliminate that all we can.
Mhm.
And it definitely will spur on a lot more development. Also, just so you know that, a lot of this, will be in a more affordable housing type market. That's what they do in our community now.
A lower price point.
Lower price point, there you go. That's, I'll get all this definition correct one of these days. When they bury me. Anyway, it's really good to see that area start developing, honestly.
Yeah, we've seen everywhere else north and stuff. So, yeah, it's
Exactly.
great to see something going out west that'll help
Yes.
spur on more positive development there.
And, you know, there was a lot of talk about debt and all that, and a lot of these sewer lines are the reason for that debt. That was spurred on 20 years ago, the honest truth is. And so it's time to utilize those sewer lines.
Any other questions or comments on this topic?
Okay, thank you for your time.
If not, I entertain a motion.
I move to adopt ordinance number 2022-28 for rezoning application PZD 000036-2022 for the described property from RR to RP1.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Excuse me, it's a,
Roll call.
yes, please.
Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Mrs. Roth,
Yes.
Mr. Peel,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mrs. North,
Yes.
Mr. Van Houten,
Yes.
Mayor Berkey.
Yes,
It's 600.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is consider water and sewer refund to Johnson County Fire District Number 2. And Mrs. Dunn, you have the floor.
Thank you. We've had an ongoing issue, it's not an issue, we've had an ongoing, issue, I don't know a better word, to work on with, Fire District Number 2 at the fire station here in Spring Hill. There's two parts to this, and I put it all together, and we've been kind of kicking this around with them since late in 2021. So I wanted to get a resolution to this and move forward. And then I got a lot of great questions about it and want to rethink part of this. So I'm going to break my recommendation down into two parts if you're agreeable to that. This is related to a meter. There are 3 meters on their property. One meter they use, it's behind their station as I understand, and it's used like a hydrant, like a fire hydrant, for training and things like that, and filling trucks and fire-related activity, not just the residents of the firemen in the station. That meter has been billed sewer since its inception. If you don't know this, that your sewer is based on your water usage, and so they've been billed sewer on a meter that isn't connected to the sewer. And so to me, that one's really pretty straightforward. That's really an erroneous bill, and we should refund the sewer charges. We've charged them in 2022. I'm not going back to the dawn of time. The books are closed on all those years. I'm recommending in the first part that we refund $2,437.46 in sewer charges and not bill fire department 2 sewer charges on that meter going forward.
Could you say that total again? I'm sorry.
$2,437.46.
Thank you.
The second half of this equation is the water that's billed there. And we have an email from former Fire Chief Francis that said that the city public works director, I don't know when or where, back 20 years ago, I have no idea who did that. He's not in this room tonight, I'll tell you. That he agreed that they would not be billed for the water on that hydrant. Well, the other fire hydrants in town, when they use those, they are not billed for that water usage. But they have been billed for the water usage on this other hydrant. 2 schools of thought there. Treat all the hydrants the same. Why would we bill them for that hydrant when we don't bill for the rest? That's pretty simple. Well, why would we pay for their training? Why would we pay to fill their trucks? And so I think that part needs a little more research. Councilwoman Roth has done a little bit asking communities around us, and they do it different ways. And so I think we need to do a little more work on the staff's part to come up with the resolution of the water. Continue to build them water as we have until we have a resolution on that part that fits in with our relationship with the fire district, as well as being good stewards of the money. So I would ask you for a motion to refund to the fire district number 2, $2,437.46 in erroneous sewer charges, and discontinue billing them sewer charges going forward, and to table the water discussion on their account until we have more information. And I'd entertain any questions or your input if you have an opinion on fire districts and water billings.
I think regardless of what is decided regarding the water and the billing situation, I'm a firm believer that we need to have something documented.
Yes.
And the email that you had sent, or somebody had sent with the packet, I believe it referenced a verbal agreement
Right.
between, and then it was a title of a person. There's no documentation, there's no.
We can't
name.
find any, no.
Yeah.
So whatever is decided, we need to have documentation. So
Right.
even with, eliminating the sewer billing, it sounds like that's erroneous, so I'm not sure necessarily the documentation would be needed for that. But again, specifically the water usage for the hydrant, I would definitely like
Yeah,
to
we're
see
definitely getting hit for the water, but the wastewater, yeah, doesn't really affect us, so. I would say, yeah, the wastewater is
Yeah.
pretty easy, but the water, I mean,
Yeah, I'm absolutely on board with refunding them for
Yeah.
that, and I would like to do some more research on, or do you
I-
What did
I'm
you
hap-
find out?
from
I'm
other
happy to
communities,
share,
do they
so-
charge them for the water usage?
It's tricky because obviously we're, not one city is the same. So I did speak to Gardner, who contracts their fire services, and they are the water provider for the city. They said they do not bill for hydrant water, similar to what Ms. Dunn said. And she couldn't verify, but she assumed that their training was done from a hydrant, obviously. So essentially, it doesn't sound like Gardner charges for the training water that is used. I spoke to Paola. Paola's a little different because the fire department is under the city. And they obviously are the water provider as well. So of course, they're not gonna bill themselves. I did ask if their water provider, which is the PUA, if they, requested or ever asked them to potentially, not be billed for, water used for training, and she said, no, just whatever water that comes to us, we have to pay for. I did talk to Miami County Water District 2, asking if they provide any kind of discounted services to any fire departments, and she said not that she is aware of. So again, that's just the short few phone calls. I did put in a call to Edgerton, they didn't return my call. Just, probably hasn't gotten to it, but, yeah, this is a tough one. You wanna be good stewards of the tax dollars.
And partners, I mean.
Yeah, and you wanna maintain a good relationship, but to be honest with you, I'll just share my thoughts. I struggle wrapping my head around, this is a training tool for the fire department.
Plus, I believe they would fill water trucks from it, their tanks on their trucks from that hydrant as well.
And I know they can. Mr. Messer brought it to my attention, and I don't know that a lot of them maybe also fill from other hydrants, not just this one. It's not the sole provider of the water in their
But also
tanks.
to be the devil's advocate on that, we're paying for that service too.
Right.
So
Yes.
essentially,
kind of double in.
we're paying twice. We're paying for. them to
We're paying
fill
for it and then
we're
giving
paying
them free
them
water.
to use it.
Yeah.
Free water is a sweetener.
Yeah.
My other concern is that station serves, I couldn't get a hold of a map that showed the footprint that they serve.
Large.
So
Yeah.
so if their footprint is this big, why is it Spring Hill citizens' responsibility to foot the bill for all of their training water? Again, it's just a tough thing that I haven't quite accepted that yet.
I'll throw
Should
in
it be the city's?
another thing, I don't know the exact date, but this account with them goes back 10 to 20 years. And they paid the water bill the entire time until they had a spike in the fourth quarter of last year of about $2,000 in 1 month in water usage. We checked for leaks and all kinds of things like that, and it was their usage. And so that brought to their attention, then they wanted to know, well, how come we're paying for this when we don't pay? We didn't think we were going to, so that's what brought it back, but they have paid it for years.
And the other part of my thought process was, if we were talking about $1,000 a year, you know, we could just say, all right, Goodwill,
Community service.
no worries. I don't know what the annual cost is for their training water. This is one refund that's being requested, so, but how many times do they do this a year? You know, I don't know.
Is
That's-
there- is there
That's
what-
information I'd love to see.
Yeah, is there a way we could get an approximate, I mean, are we talking
We were just talking about billing for this year, right?
$5,000? Are we talking
I would only entertain
$25,000?
a refund for this year. Yes, we can definitely tell you what that meter has billed every year since it was put in.
Okay.
But that information would be helpful for us to make a decision on whether we want to continue, you know.
Bill going
do we want,
forward.
you know, provide this to them? What kind of cost is the taxpayer is going to incur for providing that service? I wanna make sure everybody's safe. I wanna make sure they have water to put
Yeah.
fires
Right.
out, of course.
I actually want to just correct one thing. The utility fund is supported by the customers of the utility fund, not by tax dollars.
Oh, okay.
So the taxpayers and utility people are the same kind of people, but it is not funded by tax dollars.
Okay.
So we won't be giving away tax dollars, we'll be giving away utility dollars.
Well, and again, it's
Slight clarification.
it's that pool that is footing the bill for their training.
That's
when
right.
They are serving a much
The whole area,
larger-
that's correct.
And I think we'll all up here say that we obviously support the fire department.
Yes.
Support a good
100%.
partnership with them and want a very good relationship. You
Right.
know, I've met with Chief, or former
Yep.
Chief Francis multiple times and have a great relationship with him, so, nothing against them at
Nope,
all. We're
not
just
at all.
trying to figure this out and once again, be best stewards of what we've been given and,
And good
what we're
partners.
responsible for.
Yep.
The
we don't-
documentation is definitely
Yes,
the biggest
absolutely.
issue I see. We would also still need to track it
Yeah.
to help us with our water loss problem.
Yeah.
You know, because
There's a meter.
I think we do track it.
as long as we got to meet. Okay,
Yep.
oh, that's how they thought it. Gotcha.
Spiking it,
For whatever reason in my head, I was thinking it was untracked flowed water. So
no, it has a meter, a
I guess if
functioning
they got a
meter
bill,
there.
they had to have been tracked.
It'd be if we didn't bill for water, it'd be a non-billed account.
Yeah.
And the spike was from training? And the spike was from training?
That's what they say.
So $2,000 for training?
Must've been a lot of training,
One
Yeah.
training.
yeah.
So that's-
It was in a month's time, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Right,
$2,000.
Yeah,
And that's again where I would be curious to know how often do we do these trainings?
What's the cumulative?
Right.
right.
Well, and once again, you know, what kind of dollars are we talking about?
Sure. $2,000 is $2,000, annually for the fire department, different than 2,000 a month, right?
Yeah.
For training. I mean, maybe it could be done in other locations. It's a nice facility though. I mean, like you said, we're all supportive of the fire department.
On the information that I gave you, in the 8 months worth of billing, their water bill totaled $2,742 in 8 months, so you can get an idea of what an average month, that spike month is not in there.
Okay.
And they have not had another one since the fourth quarter.
So maybe $4,000 or $5,000.
We could be coming up on another one, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
just we can look up all the details, but that gives you a neighborhood.
That makes me feel a little bit better that, that we weren't talking $20,000.
Exactly.
Massive amounts of
Right.
water.
Yeah, I'd agree and say the wastewater is probably good to do now. We should probably research a little more before we do water.
I agree.
Any other questions or comments?
And make an agreement, have an agreement for.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and good point on bringing that up, because I think that's the most important part of it, is having something in writing.
That way the
especially-
council from 19 years from now.
Yes,
doesn't have the same
exactly.
conversation.
Exactly.
Next finance director can sort that out.
Well, with that, I entertain a motion.
I move to approve a refund for Johnson County Fire Department number 2 in the amount of $2,437.46 for the sewer charges. And authorize staff to process the credit to the account.
And then also.
To discontinue billing of sewer.
To discontinue billing
And-
of sewer as well.
And then
Right.
table the other.
And to table the water billing discussion till
Further staff,
Further research.
further research.
right.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0-0.
Thank you for your time and your input.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is consider approval of project and budgeted transfers, and Mrs. Dunn, you have the floor again.
I was thinking,
I wasn't quite fast enough.
Well,
I was actually thinking in my head, now what was next? Okay. I am here again tonight, asking for your approval for, budgeted, planned transfers from various funds into the debt service fund so that we can pay our bond payments. In your packet, you have a summary of those transfers as well as the page from the budget where they were previously approved. In addition to those two transfers, we're asking that you make two transfers from the excise tax fund for two projects that are capital projects and move that into the capital project fund so it can be spent on the projects. One of those is for 193rd at Ridgeview's turn lane. And the second one is 199th and Webster Street signalization. And both of those projects are underway already.
And once again, this is just a planned transfer that was already budgeted, and just this is more so the formal action of moving the money over.
That's correct. We're required to come to the council for approval before we make transfers between funds. So that's what we're doing. 4 of these are budgeted. The other 2 are projects that you have previously approved, and we're moving the cash to spend it. So I'm asking that you move to approve the transfers as proposed.
Any questions on that?
That's pretty straightforward.
If not, I entertain a motion.
I'll move to authorize staff to transfer $1,065,530 to debt service fund from the special sales tax, city fund, the excise tax fund, the water fund, and the wastewater fund in the amount needed for the 2022 debt service payments and approved projects, and transfer $707,740 to the capital project fund from excise tax for the city's contribution for 2 projects.
Perfect.
Pre-stated.
second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0-0.
You got any more for me? No, I'm just kidding. Thank you.
Nope, that's it for now. Next item on the agenda is consider approval of agreement for construction material testing for 2022 intersection improvements and Lincoln Street emergency repairs with Call Valley Engineering and Mr. Miller, or also known as Jackie Messer.
Yeah, I was gonna, ain't no red hair up here, I'm not Miller. This is for the testing of the 3 projects. We've used Call Valley before. What the testing is for is the concrete cylinders and the moisture and the standard testing. We use an outside firm for quality control purposes. And this is for the Lincoln reconstruction, for the Webster turn lane, and for the cars 199th. This service has been reviewed by the city attorney, and the insurance has been reviewed by the city risk manager. We've used this company before. Recommendation is within the purchasing policy. Staff recommends the governing body accept the proposal from Carr Valley Engineering for the amount of $8,865 and authorize the mayor and staff to execute the agreement. Real simple one here, finally.
This will cover the street projects that we got for the rest of 22.
3. There's 3 projects. Well, 2 projects, 2 locations on one, and then the third one.
Yeah.
Yep. Any other questions? Relatively straightforward on this one for once. If not, I entertain a motion.
I move to approve the proposal received from Caw Valley Engineering for 2022 material testing in the amount of $8,865 and authorize the mayor and city staff to execute the agreement.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries 5-0-0. With that, we'll move on to announcements and reports.
We had.
Oh, sorry, we added number 11. Next, we'll move on to item number 11, the discussion item. That's 199th Street. And Mr. Young, if you want to start that bad boy off.
I really just wanted to kind of get everybody's kind of thought process on some of the issues that have happened lately with the truck traffic on 199, especially on the west side of 169. I know that I've heard a lot of issues. My daughter's had an issue over there. I mean, what's kind of our thought process on, at least since the county's not really doing a whole lot at this time with it being so small and how many trucks trying to come through? Do we have any appetite in trying to address that at all?
My personal opinion is I think the infrastructure is already there for 175th Street. I think, in my opinion, they should just be using that street. I know they have to jog a couple miles north or south, depending on where they're coming from, but there's already wide shoulders there. There's already infrastructure there. To me, that should be. It's going through some residential over there, but not nearly as much residential as if they were going 199th. I just think it's better well suited for that in my own opinion, and I just think it's not the best use of money to build that out there.
Well, I'm thinking more of like,
And
do we want to do anything as far as, you know, saying, hey, we want to try to restrict some of that traffic coming through, or do we want to,
What are the,
you know, disregard or what?
what are the options? I mean, realistically.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Do we go and say, staff, can you figure out options for us?
And this is something
think-
that's been planned for years.
Exactly.
I mean, this is something that's been in the works for, I would say, at least 15 years. So this is not something new. It's not something we're doing. Something the county has planned on, and it's been considered a truck route by the state for I don't know how many years. But it looks like it's escalating to where they're actually going to start funding some of the work, improving it to really make it a usable truck route. And so that's why all this discussion is coming up now, I think.
Most of my thoughts are that I don't have any interest in trying to accommodate more truck traffic or increasing the truck traffic. I have zero interest in that on either side of 169 on 199th Street. You know, I-35 is right there. Obviously, 435 is a little bit out of the way. 169 is there, so the west side of 169 and 199th, I sort of understand that. That one makes a little bit more sense. But also knowing that 68 is getting expanded to 4-lane down through Lewisburg. So 169 to 68, if you're trying to go south on 69, is a much better route. Now, it's going to take 2 or 3 years for that to be finished. But yes, my biggest worry is about enforcement or potential things that we could do to try and prevent additional truck traffic.
Or deter it is kind of.
Or
what I'm
deter it is, my biggest worry in that is putting our police department in a bad situation. Or what I would say at this point is mostly a political situation.
thinking. Yeah.
And to me, that too, but to me, it's more of a safety issue for the kids and the school and the neighborhoods.
There's definitely a safety element and component to it. I am just really leery about essentially putting our police department at risk. Not physically or not, you know, at harm of danger or safety, but
Just the workload. that-
Having to
I
spend
think-
all their time.
I think right now this is mostly a political issue, and I don't think our police department needs to be involved in a political issue, and I think it would be a really big risk for us to put our police department in that situation as in a political fight, more or less. I also understand that the physical safety components of it might force us to need to do something like that or get more drastic with it. I don't think we're at that point yet. I think, I know I have this really, you know, in tune on my radar. I spoke with Mr. Moley this week for 30 or 40 minutes. I agree, like it's not safe for the people that live out there, and a portion of 109th going west is our road. So it is our responsibility to you know, make sure that it's safe. So I don't think we can ignore it by any means. You know, I also know that we will benefit, our community as a whole would benefit greatly if improvements do come to 199th. I don't want that to come so that more trucks could be there.
At a cost.
You know, but I also understand the situation can turn into something where it gets forced upon us and we don't have a lot of leverage, or we don't have a lot to do, or that we can do.
And that's why I think there's two ways to approach it. One, deter what we can for now, but if it is forced upon us, what can we get out of it
Yeah.
from the state and the county? And like overpasses and things like that,
Yeah.
that we can kind of force upon to not have to necessarily pay for.
You know,
But-
I know that we want to try and find some way to have a pedestrian connector that gets across 169. That's a big pie in the sky idea, but at some point, we're really going to want to try and do that. This could be that opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
It
have
may
a
not
park
be-
out there that you can't really get.
It
to.
may not be for 7 more years, you know, or longer. But that is something that could be a benefit to us.
I don't think there's anything that's a benefit to having a 4-lane corridor come through there. I think that safety should always come first. And I don't think we need to let fear tactics get in our way. I think we as cities, Gardner doesn't want it, Stillwell doesn't want it, and we don't want it.
Yeah.
And I think we need to pull together with that because Carnap says you should aggressively fight semi-18-wheelers coming through local destinations. And it's, unless it's like Hunt, you know, that we need to let the trucks come in that have a local destination. Also, you know, the farmers, but it's not local destination what they want for this 4-lane corridor. It's every 35 seconds, a semi coming through. And why should we help Warren Buffett and Joe Bezos that has Amazon, which is North Point over there, and the intermodal? I think we need to watch out for our city and not be afraid because there's always the opportunity to fight for what's good for our city.
And I've been following this for a long time with the Board of County Commissioners, and I've seen Mr. Moley up there several times. I've watched a lot of the meetings online, and so I've been following it for a long time. So I'm definitely very aware of what's going on. And yeah, I think it's important to our community, and I think it's, like I say, like I'll keep beating a dead horse, but I think it's a major safety issue, and I think it will only continue to get worse if we don't do anything about it.
So that's what I'd like to try to
Now,
find out.
what those steps
like,
are,
do
I think we would have to do some more research to figure out what we can do.
I also like the roundabout that's only a year old now has been a very good solution for us at that intersection. It's working well for our community, and we spent a big chunk of money on that, and I have zero interest in tearing it up and making it and spending more money on making it something else when it's a year-old solution that we like and is working correctly. So, I don't see any benefit in, you know, double dipping ourselves or double spending on that intersection there when we've got a laundry list of other roads and intersections that need upgrades.
Yeah. See, I don't know if we can ask staff to look at what options we have as far as what we can do.
I think that's our next step
Yeah, I
forward.
think that's what we need to do.
The only other point I would put is that, you know, Johnson County's gonna do whatever they do on this or not do anything on this. The leadership is about to change there too. So there's gonna be, we know there's gonna be a change no matter what. So I think it would be prudent for us to, you know, wait this out a little bit and see how that plays out. And we could see a very different approach from the county with it in the future after November.
Yeah. Still think it's a good idea to, let's get our foot, you know, at least get some information so that we're ready for it.
Yeah, I think we should have our staff start doing some research to what our options are, and then, you know, we can, you know, depending on whether it's a month or 2 months from now or shorter, but at least get that information together now, and then we can make an educated decision once we know what we can do. Because I think we can't just stand still and not do anything while they plow through our community.
And we may decide that we want to do something, you know, in one night, in one evening, one meeting. So it would be great to be able to know what we can and can't do or what our best strategies are.
Because our staff may come and find something pretty quickly that we can do, and I would rather get that implemented and act now than wait multiple months and it be too late at that point.
We'll start on it tomorrow.
Cool. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions on that one? If not, now we'll move on to announcements and reports. For me personally, I guess, you guys, I'm sure a lot of you saw the announcement today about Comcast. That's been something that's been in the works for many, many months. I've been meeting with them for about 6 months now. And if you didn't see the announcement, Comcast has agreed to come to Spring Hill and build out the entire city of Spring Hill in fiber internet at no cost to the city or no direct cost to the citizens for the build out or construction progress. So that's a major thing. I know I've lived here for 18 years and broadband has been a massive issue for many, many years. And so that was one of the highest priorities on my list when I came in office was to tackle that thing head on. And so I do think this will be a real solution, and they do want to start construction immediately. So that's a great, they're actually planning on starting construction this year in fourth quarter. So that's something they're gonna jump on right away. As a city, we'll do our best to communicate very openly and directly with the construction progress and different ways, so that at least everybody can be aware of what's going on, where they're digging, where they're working, so you can make the necessary moves that you need to make on that. But that's exciting for me. That's a really exciting thing for here. I know some of you have heard me say it before, but at my personal house, I get 9 to 10 megabytes per second. So this will be a great improvement for me. Might actually be able to work at home a little bit. So yeah, that's all I have, I think. So with that, Mrs. Roth.
I know a lot of people were here, obviously, talking about budget, and I just thought it might be helpful to reiterate kind of what our budget work session was, that I think everybody up here is committed to attempting to adopt a budget that is at least the same, if not possibly lower, than last year. So again, the hearing tonight kind of confuses that a little bit, but I think it's helpful to say that out loud, that is our goal. Again, it's not set in stone yet, that'll be coming, but that's the goal that I think everybody up here was in consensus, that we're shooting to either be right there or just below. And again, not to harp it, but last year we also came in at revenue, which is amazing. So I'm really excited to see what happens with Miss Dunn and the budget. So hopefully we'll be able to reach that goal.
We'll reach it.
Yeah. Just not putting the cart ahead of horse. But again, I've heard a lot of the comments from the citizens, and I think a lot of us agree with you in that we do want to keep taxes at a minimum. I don't think anybody up here says they want to raise taxes. So we're doing everything we can to make sure that we're either right there as last year, if not below. So hopefully that's the case.
And I wish I could change the county assessments on our homes, but unfortunately, we don't have any control over what the county valuations on properties, and so that
And we're
obviously
talking about,
affects us all.
we're talking about the rate.
Right,
The rate would stay the same, if not, again, possibly be lower. So fingers, toes, and eyes crossed. Thank you, Ms. Dunn. And then, yeah, that's all I had, so.
All right, Mr. Van Houten?
No report.
No report. Mr. Peel?
Couple of the things that I pulled from the audit that I thought were really good. In the financial highlights, I think it's page 3. Yep, page 3. The city's total indebtedness decreased by 2.1 million. The city's net capital assets increased by 1.7 million. So we were able to pay off some of our debt and also, make improvements in infrastructure and other things so that we've got more capital assets. So I think that to me was the highlight of the audit report. All 50 some pages of it, those 2 sentences. I wanted to remind everybody that Fall Festival is only about a month away. My opinion is that Fall Festival is the best event that Spring Hill has every year. If you have not participated in the parade, there are many opportunities to participate as a citizen or anybody. So I used to think that parades were really hokey and cheesy until I came here and participated in the parade, and now it's my favorite thing to do every year. So, so I wanted to remind you about that. They've made arrangements for a little bit bigger, more popular band this year for the evening portion of it on Saturday. So fingers crossed that we get good weather, and that is a really good event each year. And then the last thing I had was I was hoping that maybe we get kind of an update on the RFP for the comp plan and timeline, what that's looking like, and when we can kind of maybe hope to expect some results for that.
Sure. The RFPs are ready to go out, to be sent out to, we have a list of companies that would like to send it out, and then obviously it'll be posted. There were a few adjustments that we made here recently, but yes, it'll be sent out. And I'm gonna say the timeline that it will go out after this planning commission meeting to make sure that everything's in check, and should have a contract to present October.
Okay.
And it'll be after the October planning commission meeting.
So probably second meeting of October, close to Halloween.
It would be the second meeting. Yeah, that would be a good Halloween gift.
Gifts on Halloween?
Buckets of candy.
Mr. Young,
No report.
Mrs. North,
No report.
Mr. Massey,
No.
Mr. Burton, Chief Henson,
No report.
Mr. Lawyer,
It's got a name tag.
No report.
Chuck would never go no.
yeah, we like that. Mrs. Garrity,
No report, thank you.
Mrs. Dunn,
No report.
Mrs. Jones,
No report.
Mr. Messer.
He's gonna mess it up.
Make me the.
You were on a roll there for a second.
Yep, yeah. Just want to let everybody know that Lincoln Street, we're still working on that. We're hoping the contractor's gonna start fixing that 110-foot obstruction, and start putting the slab in there the day after Labor Day. We've got all that worked out. We still have problems up on 183rd. Everybody noticed that thing pushed out again, so I'll be working with Lane and a couple other, trying to find out a plan for that. We drained the pool yesterday, in the morning, fired up all the pumps so everything could get circulated real good, and then drained it overnight, so it's all drained, and we're gonna be spending the next few weeks winterizing all the parts of it. And I wanted to put a damper a little bit on this meter change expectation. We won't have those done, those 500 meters changed out till this time next year. Because as we thought, we have a pretty awful delivery date on those meters. They're not gonna come till late spring. So that'll give us about 3-4 months to change them out. So probably August 1st before we get all 500, but we have until January 1 before they become obsolete. But we're gonna work on it pretty aggressively. We don't wanna start changing out now because even though we have some in stock, cause we don't have enough for the builders if they came in and wanted some. So we've gotta wait for that big order to come in. That's pretty much it.
All right, with that, I entertain a motion to move into executive session for 20 minutes. 15, I like that better.
Take a small break in between now and then.
It's been requested to take a little 5-minute break for bathroom
Recess.
break. So, go ahead and go ahead and do 20 minutes just for the bathroom break.
Well, 15 minutes for the meeting,
Yes.
but not starting
Yes.
for 5 minutes.
Yeah, just,
I move the city council recess into executive session for 15 minutes to receive advice of counsel pursuant to the attorney-client privilege exception of KSA 75-4319B2 of the Kansas Open Meetings Act. The open meeting will resume in the city council with a 5-minute delay on that start time, so
we'll just go 45.
45.
Easy.
yeah, 8:45. No formal action is anticipated following the session. Persons to be in attendance are the following: Mr. Ryan Denk, City Attorney; Mr. Lane Massey, City Administrator; Mr. Pat Burton, Community Developer Director; Ms. Rhonda Dunn, Finance Director; Ms. Ashley Wood, Deputy City Clerk; and Mr. Tyler Ellsworth, Bond Counsel.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. We
It's just, I know, it's like. Yeah.
Oh, you couldn't buy a little
At this
bit
point,
smaller
as
one.
stiff as can be, and it's like, it's one in me.
Still got 2 minutes.
Alright.
We never do that.
We got all the time in the world. Chip was
I
like,
know, I was pushing you.
had him on a cart.
What you need?
Yeah, Grace, I do know him. Like it got cold.
Yeah.
I know, we're
late.
We're never here early. We're always late. Crap, we're a minute over.
Yes, I think so. Homework.
Mhm.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Let the record reflect that the governing body reconvened into open meeting at 8:45 p.m. No votes were taken or decisions made during the executive session. The discussion was limited to the subject stated. With that, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0-0. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Dank.